Welcome back to another episode with Lammy. That's me, that's Lammy. Guys, it's been a while and I'm so glad we're back. Me too. We have a really fun story today. It's actually lit. It's like on fire lit. What? The story has to do with fire, so I'll explain in a minute. Anyways, our story has to do with fire. Lots of fire, hence it being a lit story. Oh, I get it. I'm glad you get it. So guys, you may have heard the story before, and that is okay because it is worth telling again. So have you ever heard, Lammy, of the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? What? Okay, I guess you haven't. Those are weird names. Is that a fruit? No, these aren't fruit. Is it a type of paint? It's not a type of paint. These are people's names. I know, okay, it's all right. Look, these were from Israel. These guys were Jewish boys. So they have, Jewish, actually those names were given to them, but it's a long story. Those were their names, they were called. Well, let me tell you the story, Lammy. Okay. So, let's go back thousands of years ago, and we're in the Bible times, and pretend you are an Israelite. Oh, nice, I'm a sheep. Okay, you're an Israeli sheep, sure. And Israel was taken over. What? I know. No way! I know, we became slaves. The Babylonians came in and conquered our city. So you and I are Israelis, but we're slaves. Well, the king of Babylon, who took us over, he's like, as king, here's my crown right here, I want to find the wisest people in all of the land. What? Yeah, the king wanted to find wise people. And so because the king wanted to find wise people, he had his spies search through the entire land, including the Israel captives people. Like us. Right. So the king, Nebuchadnezzar, is sending out his spies, and they find a bunch of smart people who were both Babylonian and Israeli. Okay. Were you one? I wasn't one. Well, I was. You were what? A wise one. Actually, you weren't picked. None of us were picked, except for a few special, very intelligent people. Like who? Well, one of them was Daniel, but that's a different story. But there were 3 other people picked. Their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Oh, okay. Weren't they slaves? Well, they were slaves. They were slaves. However, King Nebuchadnezzar wanted smart people, and they were really smart because God blessed them. So, anyway, King Nebuchadnezzar, he has the smartest people. They become advisors. They're very smart men. The Bible says that these 3 boys were brilliant and super wise. Nice, good for them. Yeah, it was good. Until something happened. What? Well, King Nebuchadnezzar was very proud. He was what? He was proud. What does that mean? Okay, what's the question? What does pride mean? Well, pride pretty much means that you think you are better than you are. You look down at other people, you feel like you're the coolest person in the world, you can do whatever you want, and you think much of yourself. That's pride. Oh, so the king thought he was great? The king thought he was so great, he ordered the workers to build a statue of him. How big? Well, guess, how big, if you were a proud king, how tall would you build your statue? Well, bigger than me. Okay, so like, what do you mean? Twice my size. Twice your size? How big are you? Never mind. Yeah, you're not very big. Well, let me guess what? The king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, he said, let's build a statue out of pure gold, right? Pure, that's super expensive. But let's make this statue 90 feet tall. 90? Yeah, 90 feet tall. How wide? Well, and 9 feet wide. This statue was 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide, right? That's crazy. It was made of pure gold. Well, after the king made the statue, he's like, you know what, this statue was so great, I think that I should make a decree that whenever they hear a special musical number, they should bow down. What? So the king basically said, I want every nation, every person, that both the slaves and the Babylonians, they should all worship the statue when they hear my special song. What song was that? I don't know what song it was. Was it that song? Wait, what is that? John Cena! Okay, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that theme song. No. It was some musical instrument. The Bible says in Daniel 3 that it was with like lyres and instruments and harps. So it wasn't John Cena theme song. But he had some type of theme song. And so the Bible says that the king played this theme song, and everybody knew when they hear this theme song, what should they do? Bow down. That's right, they should bow down to what? The golden statue. That's right. Well, there was another part to this command. Whenever the king plays it, people should bow down. But whoever does not bow down to the statue, they be thrown into the furnace.
What?
Yeah, like a hot, fiery furnace.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is terrible. What does God say? Should we worship other gods?
No, of course not. That's wrong.
That's right. The Bible says we shouldn't worship other gods. But if we heard this music and we saw the statue and we knew if we didn't worship the statue we would die, would we be tempted to do what everyone else is doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I would. I would be like, whoa, I don't want to die, and all my other friends are doing it. I should bow down too.
Right.
Well, that was mostly true except for 3 people. 3 people, Lammy, didn't bow down to the statue.
Who were they?
It was the 3 boys. It was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't bow down. Now, the Bible says there were other advisors, right? Because the smart people had their own group, and they saw that these 3 boys, who were the smartest boys, like super, super smart, they didn't bow down. So the Bible says these evil advisors, they went before the king and they said, "Oh, king, you know, Nebuchadnezzar, you're so great, and we know some people who disobeyed you."
Tattletales!
Yeah, they were tattletales, and they tattled on these 3 boys. But when the king heard this, he was furious, the Bible says. And the king says, "Well, bring these 3 men here. Who are they?"
Uh-oh, bad times coming.
Well, I would agree, except for the fact that when he brought them, well, the king liked these guys. They were, like, he thought they were just 3 random dudes. No, these were the 3 really smart dudes, smart advisors. And so the king gives them one more chance. Like, oh, these are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These are good guys. I don't want to kill them. So I'll give you guys one more chance. He says, I want you to pick. I'll give you one more chance. And if you worship the statue, when you hear the music, I won't throw you in the furnace. Because the king thought he was being nice to them, giving them one more chance.
Did they do it?
I mean, if it were me, I don't know. But no, Lammy, these boys, they did not bow down. In fact, the Bible says, they said, "O king, we cannot worship your God or the statue which you have built. So if we must be thrown into the furnace, that's going to happen. But we know God is able to save us if he wants to. But even if he doesn't, we cannot worship these false gods." Well, I think that's super brave, right?
Yeah.
That's so brave. I mean, these boys had enough faith in God that even if they were going to die, they would obey him. I love that. Even though their friends were bowing down, these 3 boys did not bow down.
That's really cool.
That is really cool.
But aren't they gonna die?
Well, this is what happens. So the king is furious. He's so mad. He's madder than mad. He tells his guards, "That's it. Tie them up and then bring them to the furnace. In fact, turn up the furnace 7 times hotter." I can't do 7 with one hand. But he said, turn the furnace 7 times hotter. That's pretty hot.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's like crazy hot. I mean, just think of like how hot fire can get.
Pretty hot.
Yeah, well, 7 times hotter. So the guards made it 7 times hotter, and they bound up these 3 boys and they threw them into the furnace. And the Bible says the furnace was so hot that the men who threw them into the furnace,
Yeah.
well, they died.
Really?
Yeah, the guards got burnt up like that because it was so hot.
Well, guess they died.
Well, hold on. I mean, they didn't die.
Really?
Yeah, the Bible says that as the king was looking into the furnace, he saw the 3 boys get thrown in, but then he saw a 4th person.
Who was it?
Well, we don't know, but the Bible says it looked like there was like a God, like a bright shining son of God in there with them. So you have the 3 boys plus another one, and the Bible says it was shiny and bright.
Was it God?
I think it was. In fact, it might have even been Jesus, because this person had a body.
Whoa, that's so cool.
Well, when the king Nebuchadnezzar saw this, he's like, "You 3 boys, come out of the furnace." And guess what?
What?
The Bible says they walked out. These 3 boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, walked out of that furnace. And you know when you've been around a campfire, you kind of smell kind of smoky.
Well, I don't go by fires.
Okay, well, that's right, you're a puppet. But if you were to go by a fire, or you were on a fire for a little bit, you start to smell the smoke on your clothes, and you kind of, you know you've been by a fire. Well, the Bible says they walked out. They weren't burned at all. They weren't hurt at all. And even their clothes didn't smell like smoke.
Whoa.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah. How did it happen?
God did a miracle. because they chose to act out in faith, not in fear. They chose to obey God even when it was hard, even when all their friends didn't obey. God honored them and God saved them.
That's cool.
It's so cool. Guess what? The King Nebuchadnezzar, guess what he does? He is now absolutely astounded by how amazing, their God is. The king falls on his feet. Falls on his feet?
What?
Falls on his knees, and he basically kind of apologizes. He says, I was so wrong. I'm going to make a new decree. And this new decree is going to say this. If anyone in the entire land, whether they're Babylonian or they're an Israeli or they're a Jew, well, anybody who makes fun of the God of these three boys,
Who's that?
well, they call him Yahweh, the God of Israel, the God that they worshipped. The king said, if anybody makes fun of this God, they'll be thrown into the furnace. They're going to be burned up because the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that God will be respected and will be praised.
Whoa.
Now, Lammy, that's a fun story, right?
Yeah, it's incredible.
But do you know that the God that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego served is the same God that loves us?
Yeah.
The God of the Bible is the same God today. And I love it how, even though it was really hard and probably pretty scary,
Yeah, it was. I'm sure it was.
they chose to obey God. Even when their peers bowed down, even when, even their own fellow Israeli friends bowed down, they didn't, because they chose to obey God and they trusted God. And even if God doesn't save us, we will not worship false gods. And God honored them. So Lammy, I want to challenge you and challenge myself and challenge you guys at home. Like, have you ever been peer pressured before to do something you probably shouldn't do?
Yeah, I have.
You have? Well, do you want to tell us about that?
Well, one time,
Yeah?
Jimmy.
Oh, our neighbor Jimmy?
Yeah, he's so mean.
Well, he's kind of mean.
Well, some of the other puppets at home
Yeah?
were making fun of him, and they said, Lammy, he's mean to you. So, go be mean to him.
Oh, so because Jimmy was being mean and they were making fun of him, they wanted you to do the same thing, right?
Yeah, they're like, call him names, like he calls you names.
Oh, I see. So they were pressuring you in a bad way to make fun of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's peer pressure. That's bad peer pressure. Well, what'd you do?
Well, I was going to, but then I remember something.
Oh, what'd you remember?
I remembered that God tells us not to,
That's right.
and God doesn't like it when we be mean.
That's right. God doesn't like it when we're mean.
Right. So I didn't.
Oh, that's great, Lammy.
I chose to trust God, and he said it's good to not be mean.
That's right.
So I wasn't mean.
Good for you. I'm proud of you. Here, the Bible does say we shouldn't be mean to our friends and we should actually be nice to our enemies, right?
Yeah.
So good for you, Lammy. I'm glad you didn't give in to peer pressure. Was it hard?
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. Well, hey, even though it can be hard to do the right thing sometimes, like I'm sure it was hard for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I'm sure it was super hard for them, to risk death, right? To be thrown into a fire. But they decided to trust God instead. And because they obeyed God, God blessed them. And you know what? When you, Lammy, you chose to obey God, I know He'll bless you too.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And guys, if you're at home, I want you to know the God of the Bible, the God of this story is the same God today. And He loves you and He believes in you. So even if you feel pressured to do something that you shouldn't do, I want to encourage you. You don't have to sin. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You can choose to obey God even when it's hard. And you know what? Maybe God will save you from the flames, but maybe He'll let you, get a little singed. But you know what? God will always, always honor those who honor Him.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for listening to our story. If you want to look up the story, it's in Daniel chapter 3. Read it. It's fascinating. I love this story. And I hope to see you guys in person soon. So, guys, we love you, and we'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.
See ya.